back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts down at Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg, Virginia. Now, for all of you guys listening out there who are either students of Virginia Tech, who may know students, maybe it's your kids, big giveaway from Main Street Pharmacy. On Friday at Gobbler Fest, which will be out on the drill field, Counts Family Pharmacy will be on site where any student can register for a potential winning of a PS5 from the Counts Family Pharmacy. Shelton, no, you cannot go back down and use your student ID to try to get registered for this. He calls garbage, but definitely check that out. So again, we know there are some students that listen. We know a lot of you have definitely friends and family who are students down in Blacksburg. So definitely put that out there for Counts Family Pharmacy. We have arrived, boys. It only took how long?
Forever.
It felt like forever. It's probably only like 20-some weeks, but it felt like forever.
20 weeks? No, hold on. More than 20 weeks? No, more than 20 weeks. Because it was raining like cats and dogs on December 29th.
Let's do 30 weeks. 30 weeks. Call it 30 weeks.
30 weeks. But how's everybody been? Sheldon, how you doing, man?
Dude, I've been busy. I've trying to enter back into the workforce, been applying to some jobs, got some pretty good leads at some pretty cool places. So excited about that, and hopefully moving out here pretty soon. But yeah, I've just been enjoying the summer off, and can't wait to get back to the football season. I'll be in Raleigh with some friends this weekend, so watching the game from there. So pretty excited about it.
Nice. Tally, I know, man, you were mentioning just a couple seconds ago, your house is pretty much going wild right now, right?
Man, we got football going on. My son, my daughter's in college. We still got baseball that we're doing. We're going to some camps for baseball this fall, so we got to do that. We are getting ready to head to Nashville. That is 4-day weekend. Gonna be off Friday. Gonna be off Monday. And then my wife got sent home from work yesterday sick. So we're trying to nurse everybody to health and make sure everybody's good to go, so we can have a pleasant time in Nashville.
Yeah, y'all don't need to be sick and everything going to the game, man. So she just don't need to work the rest of the week. She got to stay well.
I think it's over for her. I'm sleeping upstairs though.
Hey, I'm about to say you got to be away, because I know if she's still sick come Friday, he's gonna be like, "I love you, but deuces."
I got to go. I got to go.
Mr. Siegler, what time's the flight leave Thursday, man?
I will be checking in at 8:20, so I will be ready to roll, wheels up, sometime right around 8:20. So I'm excited. It's going to be a pretty heavy time down there. We got kind of things stacked wall to wall as far as activities and stuff on Thursday, on Friday, and then we got the game on Saturday, and then after that, I really don't have anything kind of booked, so I'm just going to really enjoy the rest of the town.
Well, that's good to hear, man. Y'all definitely enjoy it down there as much as y'all can, because it should be an absolute blast. I know tons of friends of the podcast are going to be there. I know. Are y'all going to the Suns event on Friday night?
I will be there.
You'll be there? Tyler, you getting in?
Planning on it. I'm planning on being there. Yeah.
So definitely, if you're in town, they will be at our buddies at the Sons of Saturdays pre-party. Now listen, I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. We ain't young bucks anymore. Y'all need to get to the hotel by 9. Okay? Y'all gotta do it. If not, because this is an 11 a.m. kick. This ain't early. So
it's gonna be early, man.
Hey, the event is 6 to 9. I'm planning on leaving the event, going back to the hotel.
Going to bed. Good.
Not necessarily going to bed right away, but I will be at the hotel.
He said he ain't got no kids. He ain't got no kids, so he ain't going straight to bed.
I hear you, man. I hear you. All right, well, fellas, Real quick news and note. The guys already know about it, but we kind of wanted to make a quick introduction here. News and note from Boundary Corner Podcast is we are proudly announcing a partnership with a contributor by the name of Miranda. Well, Miranda already writes for Draft Countdown, native of RVA here. She is going to join us on the podcast, hopefully either next week or the week after. She had some prior engagements this week, but here's what the deal is. She is going to be putting out some great written content on our website every now and again. You can go ahead and check out on the website. She's already there. See a little background on her. Also her socials if you want to follow her. She's got a pretty good social media account, I got to say. Pretty witty on her account, but it's something that we've been working at for a while here to try to get someone on, and we are proud to have her join us. So be looking out for that stuff. Brian, you have a visitor in the room there, just so you know.
Yeah, it's the nighttime zoomies, man.
There you go.
He's getting it in.
All right. Well, let's start. We got a lot of stuff. We are going to do Know the Enemy in a little while here, but we got to start today. Is the first time all fall we saw a depth chart. A depth chart. So I just want to kick it around this room. Jonathan Talley, I am going to start with you. Surprises, shocks, what were you happy with? What made you mad?
I mean, nothing really surprising. I think it kind of shook out how it's supposed to. First game, we put your best foot forward. Benji starting, which is what I about thought. You know, I'd like to see Nick be a leader in that room, but kind of like I said when we talked last week, I mean, we don't know what Nick has, man. He's coming off of an injury, and we've seen Nick play and we've seen Benji play, you know. So I think we're in good hands. I don't have a, you know, I don't see anything wrong with what happened in the tight end room. So I'm excited about that because that's, you know, that's my group. So I'm excited to see what kind of production we get out of those guys. But other than that, man, I mean, Bob's on the bench. It's going to be a good depth piece for us. So I'm all right.
Sheldon, what about you? Any shocks, any surprises, anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see Braylon Moore get the nod at center and then shift Caden to right guard. I know they worked with some of those combos earlier, but yeah, I mean, kind of just doing a little bit of shuffling. The only thing I could think of how that would impact you is if, you know, the snap comes out differently from different players. So obviously the guys are used to, you know, seeing Caden snap, so they're gonna have to adjust to seeing Braylon snap. And I'm sure they got into practice with it, but that might be a little bit of an adjustment early on to watch out for in the season is how they snap the ball.
All right, Brian, what about you? Anything on the depth chart?
Biggest surprise to me, I was very interested to see who was going to be that Will starter. I know we talked about that a lot. We saw the Jaden Keller experiment is back for one more year, baby. One more year, the Jaden Keller experiment. So we'll see if it sticks this year. You got Kelly Lawson right behind him at Will. I imagine we're going to see Kelly Lawson line up at least at will and star on any given down, and we'll see if he works in at Mike as well on some of those packages that we put out there. But that was the most interesting thing to me because, and I don't know how much of that has to do with Kelly missing most of the spring there or what, but we're going to see Jaden Keller at least in the front end of that will position one more year, and I'm hoping that having good old Sam at Mike linebacker is going to be some of the pieces falling together for him because it's never really been about the physical attributes. It's always been about what's up here. It just seemed like sometimes he just didn't get it. And hopefully having somebody like Sam in the middle is going to help with that.
Yeah, that's where the hope is, right? It's more if he doesn't have to think, just go instincts when you're at the weak side position. Let Sam do the calls. We know Sam, if you didn't see the interview earlier today with Sam Brumfield, a little press conference, Sam's going to have the communicators in his ears, so he's going to hear all the calls from Marv. While it is going to be Jaden's responsibility, whoever's going to be the will is going to be responsibility to look on the sideline and make sure all the calls are coming in right. For me, there were really three things that caught my eye. The first one is at defensive tackle, Kelvin Gilliam getting the oar with Josh Fuga. There had been, we saw Gilliam looked okay in the spring, but didn't jump. But clearly something between summer and fall camp, something's clicking. He's now effectively the de facto starter. I'm glad to see C.J. McCray on the depth chart after the leg injury. It's good to have him there. But here's the other one that kind of caught my eye. Look over to wide receiver room. We talked about that last week. We kept mentioning names. Take a look who the two deep is effectively in the slot. Takai Heath. Takai Heath has kindly gotten a little bit lost in the shuffle of everything over the last year with the amazing recruits that came in and some of the other guys stepping up. So he's continuing to fight, show good things in practice. So that is mine. Anything else from y'all, just as y'all are glancing at it or thinking about it again? No,
not really, man.
Nothing really, man. I think things kind of shook out about the way we thought they would, all things considered. When you look at the news that was coming out during fall camp, we kind of knew that they were doing some different things. They were shaking up the offensive line, so we expected maybe a change there and not just running it back with the crew that we had last year. They talked a lot about what was going on with different guys playing at different places at linebacker, so we knew to expect maybe some action there. Curtis, I'm kind of with you. Like I think Takai Heath is probably the biggest surprise, at least on the offensive side, just because I don't know if we've heard a ton about him outside of special teams. So seeing him in that depth chart is pretty interesting.
All righty. All right. Well, we're going to roll on because what goes along with the depth chart is if you just look through the depth chart, it's so many names. And Sheldon, we know you've done some reading and some research about S&P. Give us that final breakdown that came out from Bill Connolly, what caught your eye, and what it really says about the potential of this team.
Yeah, so Hokies came in 36 overall in the final preseason SP Plus rankings, which is pretty solid. I think that's where most respectable outlets had them, qualifying that. 43rd on offense and 35th on defense. So the analytics are a little bit higher on the defense, which is a little bit surprising. I thought the offense would be higher. Yeah, so I ran some projections, kind of looking at playing with some formulas to kind of get an estimate for what the win probabilities look like. So VT would be favored in 10 games this year, only exceptions, obviously Miami and Clemson. And they would be projected to win about 8.3 games and 5 in the conference. So that's kind of the baseline that you're looking at if you're looking at expectations based on what the models are saying. So can VT overperform that? Obviously, we'll see. I will say, though, I think the ACC as a conference is going to be a lot better than what they've been in previous years. So you look at the rest of the rankings. ACC has 6 teams in the top 35. Louisville, it was almost 6 in the top 30. Louisville's at 31. So I mean that's a pretty good contingent right there. Now the good news for Tech is that they missed most of those teams. Obviously, with so many teams in the conference, you can't schedule everyone. But I think the ACC could be a pretty solid league this year. I'm not saying it's SEC level, not Big Ten level, but they could be a pretty solid league, especially at the top half.
All right. Can I ask a quick question? I don't know if the data's in front of you there. So we're favored in 10 of the 12, with the exception of Clemson and Miami. Does it give the projections, like what's the line on those games? Like we're going to Miami week 5 right now. It's projecting -7 Miami, -3. Does it give things like that?
So I haven't calculated that. I could look up in a second, but I just have the win probabilities, which I could pull up in a second here. But yeah, I mean, most of the win probabilities are kind of like in the 60 to 80 range. So it's kind of like, you expect to win, and if you play well, you're going to win. But
Okay.
there's always something that could go wrong. It's not like we're talking about like 90+% win probability. It's very much a take care of business and play a clean game. You can win. Otherwise, you could come out on the losing end. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the probability of wins for Clemson and Miami? I just want to know, like, where are they? Are we that 90%? Are we the 10% for those 2 games? I'll give you a second.
Give me one quick second to look it up here.
So I see. Look, the stats say we're going to probably win 10 games, y'all. See, I'm closer than y'all are.
Yeah. So Miami's at 30% and Clemson is at 34%. So, like I said, we knew
not terrible.
Yeah, so when you look at the kind of the range of outcomes, it's pretty condensed. Like there's not a ton of games in the conference where Tech is favored extremely highly, but on the flip side, not a lot of games where they're favored very lowly. So I think it's going to come down to just the craziness of the sport, the lucky bounces and everything, and just execution really. So I think there's going to be a lot of pretty close type ball games this year.
Nice. And I mean, we saw it last year that the Hokies did pretty well, especially once Kyron Drones got in the game of handling the games where, those toss-up games or those 50-50 games or the games that we were favored in. They managed those pretty well, especially at home. So hopefully that trend continues for the Hokies this year.
Yeah, and then just a couple of the really small notes. So looking around the conference, Rutgers I know it's not conference, but looking at the schedule, Rutgers is actually pretty solid. They're top 50, so that's going to be right around a 69% win probability. Stanford and BC aren't projected to be great. Georgia Tech's pretty solid, but more middle of the pack. And then Syracuse a little bit lower. Duke is actually higher than I thought they would be. For some reason, the SP Plus is pretty high on Duke. They have them at 51st. I'm not sure about that, given how much production they lost. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out.
Nice. Well, thanks again for that data, Sheldon. I know that's probably something we would have gotten last week from you as we were running through everything, but it's always out there. It's good to know, to see, and I mean, it's so many different ways you can look at a season. We look at the personnel coming back, you look at statistics, you look at the probabilities, and all of it matters in some way, shape, or form. But you know what else matters? Injuries. And I gotta say this, from watching the presser today, we are coming out of camp relatively healthy. And if y'all didn't hear, the only guy that is like a toss-up this week is the aforementioned Nick Gallo, which that's not shocking, I don't think. I mean, guy's coming off a knee, right?
Right.
So
plus he's like our age. I think he's like 30. So not saying he ain't helping the team. I'm just saying, like, man, if Sheldon get injured and I get injured, he's probably gonna bounce back way faster than me. So the youth helps. Can I say something else besides all this good stuff that we're talking about?
Yeah.
You know what still burns me up, man? You know what I've been looking at? I've been looking at a lot of social media. And it's great to get, like, some hype. I'm not the kind of person, well, we need to stay hidden so, we don't lose. Like, give me all the hype. If the young men have earned it, give it to them, all the accolades. Can y'all please get my quarterback's name right? Stop calling him Kyron. Stop calling him. That's not his name. So we might be small potatoes. Can somebody send this to most of these outlets and tell them how to pronounce his name? His name is Kyron, like Byron with a K. Kyron Drones. Please get that right. You're going to call his name, get it right.
Hey, I know he's listening. That one's for you, Kevin.
That is for you.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah.
Kevin in the house.
Stop messing up our quarterback name.
All right. I'm gonna do this. Our musical guru, who has a little something later, he's already Sheldon. He's paying attention. He sent me this message right now. As it stands, Miami is an 8.5 point favorite for that game in September. Clemson is a 4.5 point favorite. Now that's November.
Oh, you knew Jason knew it.
Oh, I know he did.
You knew he knew what the stuff was.
Oh yeah.
So he said 8. Run that right one more time. So 8.5 for Miami.
8.5. Yeah, Miami laying 8.5.
And a flat 4 for Clemson.
No, 4.5 for Clemson.
4 and a hook.
Laying 4.5.
Okay, so I had close to 8.5 for Miami and closer to 7 for Clemson.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
not too far off. And again, it's obviously going to change. When we get more games in, but
absolutely, more games get in, the data starts shaping and reshaping, and talk. You talked about Georgia Tech being middle of the pack. Let's talk about week 0 real quick before we get into some other stuff.
We sure want to talk about week 0?
I do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I'm sticking up for my quarterback again. Go ahead, Curtis.
So let's talk about the Florida State Georgia Tech game. I got to watch about 2.5 quarters, and DJ, that man can't throw the ball downfield, or he gets mind numbed and then forgets to throw the ball downfield and holds it. You can't win football games that way. Go ahead, Tally. I know you itching. Hold on. Wait, Tally, stop. Something went on here.
Everybody's a superstar. They don't want me to say it.
Say it.
Am I chopping up?
No, you're good right now.
Am I good? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
we're good.
Everybody's a superstar until you get hit. DJ was getting hit. Georgia Tech was hitting his ass. But that ain't what I want to talk about. Florida State fans, first of all, you motherfuckers, they are the worst at jumping on people's shit, trying to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Man, I seen that so many clips when they was Virginia Tech versus Florida State. Like they went on, when Kyron goes on the podcast and he's talking about, number one, y'all didn't watch it. People didn't watch it. You just took a clip and start going crazy. Oh, he said Florida State wasn't that good. Oh, it was a day game. Oh, he was getting beat. Oh, this was his stat line. Go watch what he said. Go watch the clip, first of all. That's number one. But like I said last week, I'm gonna go off that for right now. I said I needed to see Norvell's team this year because Norvell is a coach that builds. He's not really a coach that reloads. It took him a while to get that team where they looked like they looked last year.
3 years.
And this year they didn't look like the same team. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't gonna beat them down too much. I know we got Kevin in here. I know you got family down there. But I got to say, fuck Florida State. What you got, Sheldon?
Sheldon, did you freeze? Observation, Shelton, from the Florida State Georgia Tech game.
So unfortunately, I was actually out getting some vitamin D hiking, so I wasn't able to watch a ton. But I did see some of the post game analytics. Bill Connolly has the post game win expectancy. I think it was 97% for Georgia Tech. So they actually really dominated that game pound for pound. I think the score was a little bit closer than the disparity would have suggested. So that was a pretty dominating win.
Brian, I know you were doing stuff Saturday, but I'm assuming you came back, checked some highlights.
I came back in and checked everything out, and I think it's going to be the latter of what you mentioned there, Curtis. We saw this at Clemson. It didn't rear its ugly head quite as much last year. We're back at it where DJU just does not know how to get the ball down the field. He is risk averse with the football, and he is checking down. If it's not in that 5 to 15 yard range, he is either not taking it or inaccurate when he does take it. So at some point you got to pull the trigger. You got to take shots downfield. You got to make sure that you can press the ball and push the defense and stretch the defense and make them have to work, because right now where his bread and butter is, it's all clogged up because no one's concerned about him taking shots.
Just press man, leave one over the top, make him have to make decision, and it's not good right now for them. What I'll also say, Sheldon, I'm glad you dropped that stat on here, because we got to think about Georgia Tech. If your win probability is 97% and you win the game by 3, that says something to me, because if I'm hearing the way the analytics said is Georgia Tech should have won that game handily without an absolute problem, and literally there's 2 plays that have to happen. A, you get very lucky that you catch a swing pass and the guy gets 18 yards upfield to put you in field goal range. B, and I'm not trying to take up for Florida State here, that kid stepped out of bounds. That stop clock should have stopped with 40 seconds left. I don't think Florida State probably could have come back. But still, all that to say, everything in the data world says you should have killed this team, and you barely scraping by. Says a lot about Georgia Tech there. All right, let's flip it over to the night game, to the SMU Nevada game. Sheldon, did you make a comment or something? Because I remember reading something and laughing my ass off about SMU joining the ACC G5 teams.
I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember? So
Yeah,
basically, Shelton made the comment. I can't remember where it was. We chat on multiple devices. Basically, Sheldon said, hey, look, SMU's getting the normal ACC welcome. You're playing a G5 team, and you are looking like absolute dog shit. So that game also, if SMU brings that to the party this year, they may make a bowl game, because they didn't look good at all. And that's a team that was very offensive forward last year, and it took them 3 quarters to wake up in that one.
Yeah.
And they got a safety.
Yeah.
You also said that, Sheldon. I don't know what you were doing Saturday night, but Sheldon was like, shotgun in the end zone.
Yeah, let's do it.
That was beyond.
Screw it.
See, I'm not saying I could be an offensive coordinator at the Power 5 level, but I know I'd be not stupid enough to do that. Running shotgun out of the end zone when your O-line can't get a push. Man, some of these coaches, dude.
You can't get a push. You've been struggling to move the ball now for a little bit, and then you know that they're gonna bring everything. I mean, what do they have to lose at that point? And then
why would
disaster.
you do that? And that, to me, that was the hinge point. Tally, I don't know if you got the chance to watch that game, but that was the hinge point Saturday night when that safety happened.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but I mean, the week 1 stuff or week 0 stuff, like I think somebody put it in the chat. We better have the run defense fixed by let's say Jim said that, Jim West.
Yeah,
he says we better have the run defense fixed before we face Georgia Tech. We ain't even seen the run defense. We don't know if it's good or bad. We don't know what we got. I mean, I hope we play good Saturday, but we don't know. We don't know what we're gonna do. So can't have so much overreaction, or also you can't put some stuff you gotta address it. Florida State has to address. I don't feel like it's an overreaction when you've seen somebody play college football for 7 years. He is who he is, the quarterback. He's gonna give you what he's gonna give you. He kind of went off last year, but look at the defense he played against. Those defenses aren't as physical as over here. So that's not an overreaction for Florida State fans or people to look at Florida State and go, hey, if that's what he's gonna roll out, they're not gonna be very successful. But Jim, slow your roll. We'll see Georgia Tech when we see them.
Exactly. And the whole thing is watching some of the Florida State linebackers I had like flashbacks watching some runs in that game because that weak side linebacker stuck his head the wrong way like 3 times and just outside. It's like, I remember that from last year. Let's not do that again this year.
Yeah.
All right. But we got game 1 to see. So we are about to get into Know the Enemy. But before that, just a quick, shout out to our sponsor, Counts Family Pharmacy, down on 301 South Main Street. Go see Jeremy and the crew down there. When you are in town, hopefully next weekend. And again, I'm pumping this out for all y'all listening if you're a student or you have friends or family that are students down in Blacksburg, Friday at Gobbler Fest on the drill fields, Counts Pharmacy will be on site where students can register to win a PS5 courtesy of the Counts Family Pharmacy. So now we get to know the enemy. So for the first time this year, we have been looking up and down, looking at rosters, reading things, talking about different players, and we are going to know the enemy in Vanderbilt. And we are going to start on the offensive side of the ball. Brian got in the film room this week. I know y'all were looking at stuff too. I know Sheldon looking at data, Callie looking at stuff, me looking at stuff. But Brian usually gets in the film room for a few hours and breaks some stuff down. So, Brian, let's talk about this offense that was not that good last year.
Wasn't that good and very much a new look offense this year. You got Tim Beck coming over OC, had the same role there at New Mexico State under Jerry Kill. Speaking of, Kill is also on board as the chief consultant to Clark Lease. So you get 2 of those former New Mexico State coaches coming in, and obviously Hokie fans know a little bit about Jerry Kill from his time here under the Fuente era. And kind of masterminding the 2019 turnaround, if you will. So what to expect under Tim Beck? It's going to be a rush-heavy offense overall. Very much a quarterback is going to be active in the running game. Whoever is behind center, we think it's going to be Diego Pavia, but he is the captain. So heavy quarterback impact in the run game. Passing game is more about getting those explosive plays down the field off of play action and taking advantage of kind of those rush effective defense alignments and calls that will be in there because of their propensity to run the football. And so look for a heavy dose of those rushing attacks mixed in with some of those shots downfield.
All righty. Well, you mentioned his name already. Let's talk about Diego Pavia. Sheldon, you did a little dive on some of his stats and analytics. Obviously, he started at New Mexico State last year under Beck and Kill. What's kind of it showing from a statistical side?
So he finished 26 overall last year in PFF grade, which is pretty solid. That's for all FBS quarterbacks. Trying to break down a little bit how he throws the ball. His accuracy is okay, not great, not terrible either. Pretty good in the short game. His offensive line did a pretty good job of giving him time to throw, and he was also pretty good under pressure. And he was pressured a lot. Although, according to PFF, they attributed a pretty high percentage of those pressures to him. So it remains to be seen, how he's gonna handle that, and the decisions he makes in the pocket when he is pressured. But like Brian alluded to, he does run a lot. Second in FBS last year with 57 scrambles on the season. So if you get to him, he's going to run. That's his instinct. He's going to get out of the pocket. I don't think he was super efficient when scrambling, just based on the yards per carry there. But he's gonna get out a lot. So you got to make sure you contain him if you're a defensive end.
And Brian, you obviously looked at the tape. Sheldon, you got the data there. What's from hearing what Sheldon's got to say on the data and you looking at the tape, what's kind of your take on Diego?
I like to call him a Temu or Wish.com Johnny Manziel. He's a lot slower, a lot less effective down the field, but still an effective thrower, but more effective with his legs than with his arm, in my opinion. Not super fast. He's got some pretty good wiggle and a little elusive kind of, breaking tackles and things like that, but he's not going to, win any track meets or anything like that. As Sheldon alluded to, he's effective in the short passing game, but will take some shots and he will hit on those, not with great efficiency, but not awful as either. He will hit on some of those, and that's kind of where we need to watch out for those big plays, just because it will be such a rush heavy attack. He will turn the ball over, but he's not exactly a turnover machine. I think he had 9 interceptions last year against 25 touchdowns. So not an awful ratio there, but he's not somebody that's going to be super protective with the football either.
Yeah, and just a quick note, he and Kyron Jones are right next to each other in the PFF rankings in terms of turnover-worthy plays. So just to give you a feel for the rate at which he, makes risky decisions with the ball, he's pretty much identical to Kyron Jones.
All righty. So there's a little bit on Diego, definitely someone to keep an eye on, even though I'm trying to figure out how Vandy's saying that it's an or situation with their quarterback room.
I think that's you named him the start. You don't name a quarterback a captain and then not play him at least week one.
At least week one. All right.
We know a coach who did some stuff.
Shout
like
out
that.
Grant Wills.
What was that, Tally?
We know a coach who did some stuff like that all the time.
Tis true. All right. I'm going to make this real quick, even though he's not playing in this game. They lost a couple really good wide receivers last year. One went to Georgia. His name's escaping me right now. I thought I wrote it down and didn't. The other one we're going to have to contend with in October, and that's Jaden McCowan. He was one of their most versatile receivers last year, had some rushes. We're going to see him later in the season, but he's not on the team. And then they lost one to Georgia, so you know that. So, Tally, who can they throw the ball to?
Well, they got a 6'7" tight end. 6'7", 243, Cole Spence. So Cole was a three-star prospect. He had about 23 offers. I'm looking at kind of the best offers that he had was maybe like UCF or mid schools like that. But I looked up and didn't find any stats on him from last year. But they saying that he is who they will be looking at to throw the ball to at tight end. What you got on him, Brian?
Yeah, the big thing that I'm reading is that, they really lost a lot of their production from a wide receiver standpoint. They've got some pretty effective tight ends, both on the roster and guys that came in, but apparently the guy that has stood out the most in spring in the scrimmages has been Cole Spence. Really good rapport with Diego Pavia. He's expected to be the guy that's going to be the targets in those intermediate passes that we talked about and going to be the red zone target in the passing game. So look for him. He's a big target. He's a big guy. Tally, you spoke to it, didn't have any 2023 stats. He was injured in 2023, played mostly special teams in 2022. So he's a guy that is kind of really having his first season as a primary playmaker. But it's by all accounts, he seems to be the guy that's flashed the most heading into the start of the season.
Yeah, 100%. And he's 6'7", he's 245 pounds. That is a big target to hit out there. So even if Pavia does have issues with the short intermediary passing game, somebody that size, it is going to be tough to miss. Let's be real on that. All right. I decided to do a little bit more digging, trying to find out what is going on with the rushing on this team. Obviously, that Diego, but it's the first time he's playing at Vanderbilt. He was at New Mexico State last year in the CUSA. I'm sure Shelton could dig up and tell me what rank the CUSA was last year as far as conferences go. Their champion, not great. Their champion, if y'all don't remember, was Liberty, and we saw what happened to Liberty when they played Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. That was not an entertaining game. I need entertaining games during the winter. If not, I get really bored. But let's talk about their run game. I want to talk about Cedric Alexander. He is their leading rusher. When he came out in 2023, you're laughing. Oh, Brian, are you going to pull up the stat? I'll let you pull up
You pull up the stat. I'll talk about it.
You pull up. Okay, I'll pull up the stat. You talk about it. But just a little background on Cedric Alexander. He was a 3-star recruit when he came out of believe it or not, he came out of Austin, Texas, 5'9", 200 pounds. He was a 3-star at 87. And if you take a look here at his kind of recruiting list, it wasn't actually all that bad. I mean, you take a look, Iowa State. I always feel like Iowa State get good football players. UTSA, they're doing good things down here. But overall, for a guy to be rated an 87, the offer list doesn't say that. And I don't know if it's one of those things where Vanderbilt offered early, he committed early, he was done, or something happened. But his stats last year, just so all y'all know, he was their leading rusher. 96 rushes, 371 yards, 3.9 a carry with 4 touchdowns.
Big yikes.
And Sheldon's going to get into that in a few minutes, why it's a big yikes. But, Brian, you watched some tape on him. What's it say about him?
A lot of it's not his fault. It's more his rushing style combined with what Shelton's going to talk about, and I'll kind of piggyback on here in a little bit. But this is a guy. I mean, he's very much a steady Eddie in the rushing game. He is not a game breaker. He is not a big play threat. He is a guy that's going to go out there and get the yards that the play is drawn up, and he'll maybe get you a few more after contact. He's kind of, wouldn't call him a plotter, but kind of a guy that you expect to get between the tackles, get a few extra yards, and go down. Like I said, get good at getting some yards after contact in there, and use sparingly in the passing game as well. More of a check down threat in the passing game. They're not using him as a dynamic weapon or anything like that. He's a guy that would be a good like second or third option on most Power 5 teams, but he's their leading rusher. So there you go.
All right, he's their leading rusher. And so Shelton, when a team has a leading rusher of 371 yards, what does the offensive line data say for them last year? I know it's last year and they've got new players, but you can't flip everybody over.
Yeah, boy, it was rough for the Commodores. So we'll start off with this. Last year they were 126 in the country in yards per rush, under 3, and I know that includes sacks, but still pretty rough. 110th in PFF run blocking grade, also pretty rough. So, they had some explosive plays, but, the real issue for them was their success rate, which is basically how you keep up with the stick, staying on schedule. They were 123rd in the country in success rate at 36%. So, that was their issue. They just couldn't get a push, couldn't stay on track. Now, in terms of the individuals on the O-line, they have a center transferred in from Mississippi State, that's Steven Losoya, and then a tackle, Chase Mitchell, who came in from Liberty, started for the Flames last year. But other than that, you've got 3 returning starters that are all seniors, and if I look at that as a Tech fan, I'm pretty happy with that, because that means that there's not a ton of room for improvement there when you're bringing back 3 guys from one of the worst offensive lines of the country last year, and all those guys being seniors, they realistically don't have a ton of room to grow. So it's gonna be tough for Vanderbilt. I mean, I know they got some new pieces in, but man, they were so bad last year. I think just based on kind of where they're at in their rebuild, it's gonna be a lot of tough sledding just to even get back to a competent level of O-line play.
Oh man.
Yeah. I kind of expect baby steps in that for that offensive line versus any significant jump where you'll see statistically things that stand out to you. Just bad. Like, look, I really don't. I really don't have another way to put it. Poor footwork for a lot of these guys. Just not being at the right place at the right time. Pass pro not very good. Sheldon alluded to some of those statistics, even bringing them down even further when you factor in the sacks, the sack yardage, adding into that rush yardage. So it was really not a good year for this offensive line. And to Sheldon's point, they've addressed some things, but I don't know if they've done enough to take anything more than a baby step forward from a production standpoint.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this. I mentioned McCown. McCown last year was their third leading receiver. And he actually was the second in total yards from scrimmage, but he went to BC. Their second guy, the one is London Humphreys, who went to Georgia. He averaged over 20 a catch. And their leading receiver last year, Will Shepard, do y'all think he's still on the roster? Tally, you're right. He ain't. Guess where he went?
Where did he
Georgia?
go?
Not Georgia. He went to Colorado with Dion.
Okay.
So they're returning. Their leading returning receiver is Junior Sherrill, who 20 passes for 293 yards last year and 3 touchdowns. That's their leading guy coming back. So you're talking about a team who was 2-10 last year, whose best 3 offensive players clearly probably were good offensive players, because I don't believe that a guy like Bill O'Brien would go get somebody. I don't believe Dion would go get somebody. I don't believe Kirby Smart would go get guys and bring them in unless they showed significant skills. So you're talking about taking those 3 guys away, along with the troubles on the offensive line that Sheldon and Brian are going here. So it's definitely tough sledding for that offense. So there's kind of the offense. By all means, we're looking at our breakdowns. We know it's a new season, but when it's a new season, you got to look at what's old. You got to see where they were last year. Can they improve? It'll be really interesting to see what Jerry Keel can do for them. Now I'm going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball. And Brian, let's talk about this because Clark Lee fired some people.
Yeah. Clark Lee said, thank you. I will take the reins. And probably to his benefit, I think the defense has not had a great run here in the last couple years. And obviously Lee's background is defensive coordinator, running that 4-2-5 defense, kind of that Elko esque style defense. They call the rover the anchor now, though. So just, that's obnoxious. Welcome to that. I'm kind of getting a little tired of like rebranding a name based on whatever your theme is as your team. So that gets a little old, but yeah, it's a rover. Guy plays anchor. And the philosophy is kind of the same as those Mike Elko teams. It's focus on team defense. You want to limit the big plays. You want to disguise pressure and coverages to create confusion in the passing game and in the running game. So that's the big philosophies for them. And I think looking at it historically, at least before Lee took over, the thing that they did not do well was limit those big plays. So that's the thing to look at. Can they continue? Are they going to continue in that trend, or are they going to do something a little different to limit those big plays?
Yeah, 100%. Real quick about Clark Lee. His 3 most prominent years were at Notre Dame before he took this job, and his highest ranked total defense in those years was only 18th. Now, he did stay in the top 30 for all 3. That's good, but it's definitely a talent in the spirit from getting what you can get at Notre Dame, what you can get here. I want to do a quick shout-out. We got LeVar. I have not seen him in a while. LeVar's back, everybody. LeVar,
What's up, LeVar?
thank you for rejoining us. We hadn't seen you in a while. Hope all has been well.
He was waiting on the season.
He's waiting on the season. And your boy, Tally.
He's back.
Miami boy. He back.
What's up, Bill King? Thank you for tuning in, man.
We appreciate it. And you're right. September 27th can't get here fast enough. Take care of business. All right, Sheldon. Brian just mentioned it. He fired people. Can you tell us why he had to make this move when it comes to some of their defensive statistics from last year?
Yeah, Vanderbilt was bad at pretty much everything, and in particular, you look at the pass defense. They had some struggles at corner this year. I know a couple other guys are injured, so not sure what we're going to see this year. But a couple key stats with regards to their pass defense. They were 128th in open field yards allowed, so that looks at yards 10 plus runs, or excuse me, runs of 10 plus yards overall. So 128th there, and then they generated very little, almost no havoc. Havoc refers to sacks, hurries, deflections, pressures, basically anything you can kind of do to annoy the opponent, get in their face a little bit. They just didn't really generate a ton of havoc in that department, especially in their front seven. And then like I said, they're bad at pretty much everything statistically, but their worst statistic was their success rate on passing plays. So 132nd, and just for reference, they're only 133. Yes, 133 FBS teams. They were 132nd in passing success rate allowed. So they did not stop anything. I mean, you drop back to pass, man. You got a pretty good shot at least of keeping the sticks moving, staying on schedule. So it was rough, and I know they got some guys banged up. So I don't know how much better it's going to get. To be honest with you, Curtis.
Yeah, it is true because there are we'll talk about a little while those names, but Tally, we still got to try to find. All right, who's somebody that might give us problems? And Tally, I know you looked up and threw something over to Brian. Who was the guy you looked at?
Yeah, they got Mr. C.J. Taylor. He is out of Warren County, Tennessee. He was a 3-star recruit. He had about 59 tackles, total tackles last year, a couple of picks. So seems to be a pretty, solid player. Brian, offers out of high school. He had about 8 offers. Vanderbilt definitely was his best offer. Other offers were Army, Austin P, Eastern Kentucky, schools of that nature. Brian, what you got on Mr. CJ?
Yeah, this seems to be a guy that is a one of those development monsters, a guy that wasn't really recruited highly, that has kind of turned his game into something pretty big. Definitely their best player on the defense, far and away. Kind of a balanced. He plays that anchor safety that I talked about, that rover position. He's balanced against the run and the pass. Like I said, really only impact player on their back end. And they use him kind of all over the place. He blitzes. He's in run support. He's got a couple sacks here and there. He's forced some fumbles, and he got a couple picks. So he's a guy that does a little bit of everything for them, but he's really their only impact player on the defense, other than a couple other guys that are kind of steady Eddie.
All right. Yeah. So that's their best on the back end, and their back end, I mean, Sheldon, you already alluded to it. It was rough last year. So they went out in the portal and they got a guy by the name of Marlon Jones. Marlon Jones was an Eastern Washington guy. Eastern Washington, always a pretty good FCS program in the last decade. He had played in 40 games at Eastern Washington before he entered the portal. He had got 9 interceptions, 23 pass deflections in his career. That is pretty good numbers at any level of football. But unfortunately for them, he basically is out for the season. Personal health issue. He did not report to fall camp. So that is a huge loss because clearly you see that statistical, you see that stats. It's like he's probably going to be competing for a starting job. And then if that wasn't bad enough, another transfer, this guy came from Southern Illinois and also went to Buffalo by the name of Mark Davis. Had rotated in with cornerbacks, looked like he was probably going to have some sort of role in their cornerback room, tears his Achilles a couple weeks into camp. So now we're sitting here and you're talking about a bad pass defense last year. They clearly addressed it. They went out and found probably a diamond in the rough in Marlon, probably a steady guy in Mark, and now they're gone. So they're almost back to where they were last year. And I mean, it's just, it sucks. First of all, you don't want to wish injury upon any kid, and these kids are playing their hearts out, and that stinks. But I mean, so they're gonna have to roll what they had last year, which was 132 or 133. That's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely an uphill battle for that defense. Like I said, you got one playmaker out there, you got a couple others, pretty steady guys out there, but to Shelton's point, nobody that's really creating a lot of havoc. So this isn't a team that's going to disrupt your schedule very much, whether it's sacks, whether it's tackles for loss. You're not going to see a ton of that. They just got to hope that they can get you to third down and get off the field.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about, there's one more player. I always like to look at the linebacker room. And Tally, what information did you get on that Mike linebacker, Langston Patterson?
We have Mr. Langston Patterson.
Langston Patterson.
That don't even sound like a football name, but
It
he
don't.
looks like a football player.
It sounds like a Vanderbilt linebacker.
It does sound like a Vanderbilt linebacker.
So he actually was a kind of high 3-star player, about an 88 ranking. Had some good offers coming out of high school. He's a Nashville kid, so kind of hometown kid. Had offers from Arkansas, Duke, Georgia Tech, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisville, Nebraska. So had some pretty good offers there. Also said he had a Notre Dame offer. So he has a brother that played, a 4-star brother that played for Clemson, and Kane Patterson, I think is his name. So pretty steady Eddie there in the middle. He is a preseason 3rd and 4th team all ACC player preseason. So we've got a little bit of stuff there in the middle for him as far as Mr. Patterson. Brian, what you thinking about him?
Yeah, I mean, looking at him, I mean, leadership is his biggest attribute. He does a good job of, getting the defensive line good at communicating. You can see him out there communicating well with the rest of the team. Technically solid player, guy that's kind of where he needs to be most of the time. Not really a huge threat in the blitz game. They don't blitz him a ton. He's just a guy that's going to get in there, get you a good tackle, 3-4 yard gain, run it back, do it again. Nothing that like super stands out at you, but he's also a guy that's not going to make a ton of mistakes. So he's going to end up racking up a pretty good amount of tackles in the middle there.
All righty. So there we have it. A little Know the Enemy Vanderbilt edition. The best we can with all of the last season's data, no tape from this season, trying to read spring games and stuff. The first one's always tough, y'all. Brian always like bangs his head. Y'all don't know, like he's like, I gotta hopefully find these guys somewhere. And obviously, Sheldon, there's no fresh data from games and stuff out there. And Tally, same way. It's like we're reading articles, we're trying to figure out stuff. So
Right.
This is what we think, guys, that you may hear the names of, guys we feel like could be impact players for them that we feel like we need to stop or slow down. But the reality of it is we've got to have our own self, and we've got a set of hokey keys here this week. And Tally, I'm gonna let you kick it off because when you texted me what you wanted to say, I was like, he got to lead it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, man. You show up to Nashville, Tennessee. It's a fucking country ass hick town with a whole bunch of country music playing. So
Hey.
you come in there, and you do what you got to do, and you get ready to play. Block out all the noise. The talking's over. It's just time to go play. Everything is set up for us to go be successful. It's just time to go play. Block it out. Let's just go get it done.
All righty. Sheldon, what do you got? Any motivational, philosophical, statistical?
I mean, motivational. I feel like if you need motivation for this game, man, you're in the wrong line of work. I think everybody's going to come out motivated. But yeah, I just want to see. I want to see improvement from the areas that they kind of lacked last year. Particularly linebackers and safeties. Being able to stop the run, prevent those big plays, and just play good disciplined football in the back seven. I think if they do that, then they should have a good time. I mean, look, Tech is a much better team. They have better talent in almost every position. This is a game you got to win. I'm not a big, believer in, you have to win by X amount of points, but it'd be nice to see them kind of take care of this one by a couple touchdowns at least. So just come out motivated, ready to play, and go into the stadium knowing that you're the better team.
Brian Siegler.
Do not sleepwalk into this game. Do not. Do not come into this game and not decide to play to your potential for 2 to 3 quarters. We saw what happened to Florida State. We saw what happened to SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that. But the biggest thing for me is, especially if Diego Pavia is the quarterback and starting significantly for Vanderbilt in this game, don't let the quarterback's legs beat you, especially on third down. We don't need a bad offense extending drives because we get a little undisciplined on third down and long. Because that's going to be frustrating. That's not going to be fun to watch. Don't do that.
Mhm.
If you take care of that business, I'm not really worried about anything else, to be honest with you. I'm not worried about anything else.
All right, I guess I get to go last. And it's similar to what all three of y'all said. My biggest thing is do not play down to this team. Act like this team is the best team in the country and go out there and play your A game. And especially for me on the defensive line and the offensive line, because basically what we see from what Shelton's given us, this is not that very good of an offensive line. Go take their damn lunch money. Go take their lunch money. Offensive line, same way. I'm looking at this. They lost their leading sack guy last year to USC. Go take their lunch money. Make them want to go to the sidelines, want to look there and say, listen, just let them run this game in. Run this ball in. Let this be the game. I'm tired of getting hit. So don't play down.
Let me ask you a question. I was thinking
Go
about
ahead.
this too, because we've interviewed Pryor a couple of times, and we can only go by kind of what he says. And he came in as a defensive coach, and he took the reins kind of on defense. He had a defensive coordinator first year, but he kind of took the reins on handling the defense. And he said himself, it was a lot of work. You know, it was times where he should have been in another room that he was focused on that defense, and maybe offense may have, I don't want to say went lacking because I don't want to, put the words in his mouth, but what we've talked to and what he said. How much do you think that's going to affect them that their coach is effectively head coach and DC all at the same time? And then you've got all of this stuff going on your defense, and you're going into a game, you're going into a season against a formidable opponent. How do you think that's going to affect them?
I think for them, I think that's why he brought in Kill, because he feels like he needs someone to control that side of the ball. But I think what that could cause is issues within the locker room, because you and Brian both played. And if everybody ain't on the same page, if coach ain't getting everybody time, getting everybody on the same page, that can screw shit up. It can screw shit up quick. I think for him, I think he did the move because he's in his fourth season. They've not had any good season since he's been there. This is the last ditch effort. He knows that if he can't manage probably 4 wins this year, he's probably got one more lame duck season and they're going to fire him.
True.
So last ditch, and to be honest, so maybe he screwed up from the beginning. Maybe he should have taken the reins and put his imprint on that defense the first couple seasons, not when it gets to the point where you are one of the worst defenses in the country. You're now losing good players to bigger programs. So that's my opinion on it. Sheldon, Brian, I don't know if y'all got any takes on that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's the Jerry Kill effect. I think that's why you brought him in. You brought in a coordinator that you're comfortable with, and now you got a guy essentially overseeing that coordinator that was the head coach for that coordinator at the previous stop. So from a tree perspective, it's still kind of flowing the same. I think the bigger thing is that now you essentially, in some ways, have 2 head coaches. You've got a defensive focus head coach, and then you've got a de facto offensive focus head coach. I don't know if that's a good thing from a messaging standpoint, because you don't have one unified message from the top down. You kind of are talking about, this is the offensive lingo, this is the defensive lingo. And I don't know how they have it structured, but I could see it going sideways like that if it's not structured in a very succinct way. So that's my concern for them with that setup. But I think it's also why Lee was okay with making that step, is because he had somebody like Kill to kind of run the offensive side of the ship.
You got anything to add?
Fair enough.
No, man, we know that Jared Kill's never afraid to pull a punch, if you know what I mean.
Shelton Moss predicts Kill and Lee are in fight by week 3. Let's go ahead and put that out there.
If Jared Kill has an issue with you, he's going to let you know about it. That's for sure.
Hey, at least Kill and Beck have been known to coexist.
There you go.
Cannot be said. The same thing cannot be said for Brad Cornelson. So
100%. All right, well, boys, we always get to a time in this program where we have to make our predictions for the game, and we do it. We don't dance around it. Last year there were games we sat in here and we said we're going to lose this game. There are games we said we were going to win. Sometimes we were right, sometimes we were wrong. But always got to lay it out there the way we're feeling about this game. And I will let Jonathan Talley lead the way on this. Mr. Talley, what's your prediction score-wise?
Hokies by 17, man. I say score is going to be somewhere around 34 to 17, 34-14.
I got you.
Kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, so 17, like I said, 34-14 for the Hokies.
Hey, by the way, guys, we are not picking this game against the spread anymore this year. Everyone got pissed off at us last year because they got confused whether we were taking money line or spread. So
they got pissed at me.
When it comes to Hokies, we ain't picking spreads. This is all who's winning and by how much.
Right.
There we go. All righty. So, Shelton, what about you as you're going to be? You said Raleigh, right?
Yep, going to be watching from Raleigh. I will take the Hokies 34-20. I think it's going to be a pretty average pedestrian game. I think Tech's can get off to a hot start. Vanderbilt will come back a little bit, maybe get close to evening it up. But in the end, the superior talent and depth of the Tech roster will carry them to victory by 2 touchdowns, and they will cover.
Brian.
Give me Virginia Tech 37-17. I like a good 20-point victory here. I don't think that offense is going to be able to do a whole lot against our defense. I think that we'll be able to score pretty regularly. We're not going to necessarily run it up like we did against UVA, but I think we're going to be able to score consistently against them. 37-17 sounds good to me.
All righty. And I'm not far from any of y'all three on this. I do have the closest score, but I told Tally earlier today pretty much I was at 17. I'm at 34-23 final. I think they get some garbage, 1 minute left, touchdown with nobody that's on that 2 deep chart playing, just getting some guys some reps, and they give up a late touchdown, and it looks a little bit closer than it actually is. But you know what, Brian? You said something. If we get the opportunity, I hope we do run it up. It's like make a statement, especially if you can get like Colin and you can get Pop out there and they can score a couple touchdowns, run it up. Because
hanging your nuts against SEC is always fun, no matter who it is.
Always
Please
fun.
do it.
Please, let's do that.
Because as it stands right now, Brian has us scoring the most at 37. Everybody's got it in the 30s, but Brian's saying 37, and that's the highest that any of us think will score.
We are being very
Please
calm.
prove us wrong.
Prove us wrong, guys.
Yeah.
Put 60 up.
Please.
Put 60. Please. All righty. So there are the predictions. We're all going with a Hokie wins. All of us by double digits. Brian with the biggest, me with the smallest margin of victory, and Tally and Sheldon right in there. So there goes that. Now we get to turn to other games for this weekend. And what we have, Brian got to play around, y'all. He got to play around. We are going big screen. Look at that, y'all. Look at that.
Nice.
Look at that graphic. If you're watching on the podcast, go to YouTube. Check out the beautiful graphic that Brian has picked. Big screeners, week 1. It is presented by Counts Family Pharmacy. And again, I'll just say this. If you don't know, Counts Family Pharmacy will be at Gobbler Fest 4 to 7 on the drill field. Go send somebody there that can win that PS5 and then give it to me because I ain't got it. Because I told you about it.
Curtis is now spitting this into him getting a PS5.
I don't know.
That's why he plugged it a 3rd time, guys.
I'm going to plug it a 4th time. Watch. All right. So we got a bunch of games. First of all, good weekend of college football. Starting Thursday night through Monday. Good games all over the place. But we're going to let Mr. Siegler kick it off. Brian, where are we going for this game?
Yeah, we've got Clemson and Georgia. That's
In
where we're going
Atlanta.
first. Yes, hot Atlanta, baby.
In
Hot
Atlanta
Atlanta.
Dome.
And
The line?
the line is 13.5 in favor of Georgia. And you know what? I'm riding with Georgia. I think Clemson is fucking down. I think Clemson is burnt out. I think Clemson is done. And I think Georgia is going to go ahead and start the kindling that's going to be the fire that burns their ass the rest of the season.
All righty. I'm opposite of you on that. First of all, I'm not that impressed. Everybody loves Carson Beck. And just what I've seen of him, it doesn't pop to me. 13.5 is a monster number. The one thing at Clemson that has not changed over these last few years is that damn defense is good. So if y'all remember a few years ago, there was this game where there wasn't an offensive touchdown scored, just one defense. I'm gonna say Clemson covers. I don't know who's gonna win it. I'm gonna be watching the Hokies game, so I'm really not gonna be paying attention. I'll figure out after that. Tally, what about you?
Well, when you don't watch that game and you figure out after it what happened, Georgia's gonna be done whoop Clemson's ass. Clemson's got too many Chads and Erics. They got to go get some Quans and Deshaun's. That's all I'll say.
Georgia covers. Sheldon, what about you?
Well, I'm a little bit higher on Clemson than Brian is. I know they're not what they used to be, but I think I still like their coaching staff. 13.5 is a pretty big spread. I think Clemson will lose this game, but they will cover.
All right. And our newest colleague, Miranda, says
Georgia.
We are a split family on this game, so therefore we will not be putting our money.
That's a nice little
pattern
pattern there too. You know,
Did Jason pick this?
He did not. Do you want him to pick every week? I guarantee you he will and lay money on it.
I'm just wondering because, I mean, we're at a kind of odd number right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, I think if Jason gets in there, we might really be split. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I was wondering, did he pick? I'll call him. I need to know what he thinks about this.
All right. Listen, we will get in touch with him tomorrow and see if he wants to start giving picks for all the games. Knowing him,
Of course,
Brian, knowing him, you know he does.
Oh, yeah.
more action on Saturdays. All righty. Well, I got the next one here.
Jason just texted me and said he's taking Georgia.
He's taking there we go. Jason taking Georgia with the 13.5. Tell him he's got we got a few more to go here, so he's got to stay on the line with us. All right. I've got the next one up here, and I'm going to Sunday night, going out to Vegas. USC versus LSU. LSU, the 4.5-point favorite, kind of far away from home, but the LSU fans are crazy. I'm sure that place is going to be dealt with purple and all that. And Brian, I want to see what you got with this one first.
That line isn't big enough. Give me LSU all the way.
Give you LSU all the way?
Yeah, that at least a touchdown.
At least a touchdown. All righty. Let me think about it here. You know what? I'm with you. I think it's just a little bit too big. LSU, lay to 4.5. Take the over. The over is only 64. And y'all know Lincoln Riley can score points, but he don't play defense ever. So 48-34. Take the over. LSU wins. Callie, what about you?
I don't know much about either one of them teams. I'm going to be honest with you. But I do know I got a good friend's son that plays on USC. He transferred from Georgia State.
Okay.
And he plays defensive end linebacker there. His name is Jamil Muhammad. Everybody give him a look. I'm going with Southern Cal just for that reason. I'm going to support my boy, and I'm going to say Southern Cal.
Cal covers. Sheldon, where are you laying on this one Sunday after a weekend in Raleigh?
That's a good football name, by the way, Jamil Muhammad. I like Tally. I don't know a ton about these teams. I just kind of felt like Lincoln Riley is going to come with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, try to prove some people wrong. So I think USC is going to take it.
All right, USC says that. Miranda says.
Miranda is riding with me and you, Curtis.
And Jason texted me. He's taking LSU with the 4.5. Tally, do you need to make a change?
No, we got to talk to Miranda about her picks. She coming in wrong right now.
She coming in wrong on this one.
Miranda, if you
Tally,
watching no, because Tally follows Sheldon. So as long as I follow Sheldon, we good. But I got analytics backing me up, man. Hey, we can't lose.
That's
so
right.
Miranda, you need to get on the right board. You need to get on the right ship right now.
Tally's sitting here saying, if it feels good, and then Shelton says the statistics feel
Come on
good,
now.
then he feels good.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, well, Tally, we know you've got a very special pick, not your typical big screener, and I'm going to go ahead and take the floor, my friend.
Yep, so my alma mater, Jacksonville State, will be playing Coastal Carolina. As y'all know, or you should know, my daughter is a freshman at JSU. We went and dropped her off last week. So this will be her first game she's been to a couple of Virginia Tech games, but this will be her first college game as a college student. So that is a Thursday night game. I've told her she better do everything she can, skip class to get there, to go and be a part of that, because that's going to be an awesome atmosphere. And also, Jacksonville State plays Louisville the next week, so I'll be paying attention to kind of see what they have, so I can be rooting against Louisville when they play them.
Nice. All right, well, let's go across the board. We'll get to you in just a second. Tally, Brian, who you got?
With the love of the game, give me Jacksonville State, baby. Let's go.
Right with you.
Ride with my
Right
man
with you.
Tally.
I'm with you because I want to see your baby girl see a dub in her first collegiate game, man. I'm with Jacksonville State.
And we already know. I'm going to go ahead and put it up there. We already know.
As we used to say when I went there in 2004, no, that's a long time ago. You can't beat our cocks. Go Gamecocks.
Well, I feel bad now that I'm going against the grain, but I might have to take the L here. But I'm going Coastal.
All right.
That's okay.
All right. He's going Coastal.
You got to switch it up, Tally, because Miranda went Coastal as well.
Ah,
okay.
Yeah,
Well, she followed Sheldon. That's okay. I ain't gonna be mad at her on that one.
All righty.
There we
All
go.
righty. Next one, we did let our esteemed new writer choose a game. Why wouldn't we? And she chose the Saturday night one. Oh, no, this is Sheldon next. My bad. Shelton, our esteemed colleague.
Yes.
West Virginia, Penn State. What you got on this one, man? Why you choose it?
I'm going first.
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good game. I know that the that crowd is going to be electric. Kind of a big time non-conference matchup, and I will take WVU to cover +8. I think the crowd's going to get a little lift. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think they will cover.
All right, they're not going to win, but they're going to cover. Brian, what do you have on this one?
Yeah. You know what? Give me the Nittany Lions. I think it's going to be a big home game. I think that home atmosphere is going to carry it. Give me Penn State.
You know this is in Morgantown, right?
I did not. Damn.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's in Morgantown, buddy.
It's in Morgantown, Brian.
You know what? I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna continue riding with Penn State.
Continues to
I'll
ride.
continue riding with Penn State. I think they're gonna pull it out, even though it's in Morgantown. Fuck Morgantown.
Yeah, this is like one of those, I don't know, like, thank you, Penn State, for Pry. I got a couple people at work that are Penn State alums. I always tell them, thank you for Brent Pry. You don't know how much you have made us a happier society down here. But this game being in Morgantown, like Sheldon said, I think it's going to give a boost. I think it's going to be a war. Can I do something? Can I go real off for a second? I'm choosing West Virginia. I hate the schedule for this opening weekend. Clemson, Georgia's at 12. We're at 12. This game's at 12. There's like 3 really good freaking games at noon. And there's only like one at 3:30, and there's only one at 7:30, and there's only one on Sunday. Can they get that shit right? Like, that irritates me as a fan. That irritates me as a fan.
I understand.
Spread it out. Spread the love.
Like, spread it out. Like, I want to sit here from noon to midnight, eat a lot of bad food, drink a few beers, and have fun. Instead, it's like, oh, it's going to be at noon.
Hey, I'm gonna be sitting in a bar after our game anyway and watching everything that's out there. So whatever's on, I'll watch it.
All right.
We're either gonna be drinking to have fun, or we're either gonna be drinking to have fun, or we're gonna be drinking our sorrows away. So I'd much rather be drinking to have fun. I'm gonna take Penn State just because fuck West Virginia. and them heels have eyes looking motherfuckers from over there.
All
That's all I
right.
gotta say.
And Sheldon's already told us he's got WVU here, and Miranda's riding WVU as well. So West Virginia from Sheldon and Miranda.
It's just like that. It's that stinky line. Like, it's such a stinky line.
Yeah, it is.
And if I had looked at the schedule wrong, I might would have went with WVU, but I'm gonna stand on business what I put out there.
All right, let's go now to Miranda's.
Yeah, hey, and I forgot to mention, Robbie put it in the chat for us.
What's that?
Sorry, did I cut out? I'm good.
You cut out, but you good
I
now.
said, hey,
Shit, you cut out again.
Rich Rod is the coach at Jacksonville State. That's all I want to
Oh,
say.
yeah. There you go. Yes, he is the coach of Jacksonville State. All righty. So now let's go to the only big primetime matchup, Notre Dame, Texas A&M in College Station. Texas A&M 3-point favorites. I think it's a straight up 3, which is very awkward to be a straight up 3.
Yep. This is Miranda's pick, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
Good game. Good solid choice. Brian?
You know what? I've given A&M a lot of shit in recent years. Everybody knows that. It's well documented. I don't think this is going to be necessarily significantly different, but I do think they have the horses to cover this measly 3 line. So give me the Aggies here.
All right, I am completely against you on this. I actually think Notre Dame is going to win this game outright, so I'm going to take the points. Just because in this case, Elko is a good coach. Now he's going into a situation where you feel like it's more horses. The question is, as we've seen throughout so many times, some guys can't just go in as a head coach and take the talent and win. They can find they can take the lesser guys and build them up like he did at Duke. I got to wait to see what he's going to have at A&M. They did lose some stuff in the portal. And I don't know. I'm just I can't believe in Texas A&M until they actually do it in front of me.
Fair enough. Tally, what you got?
I'm going to say Notre Dame. I'm just going to give it to the Irish on here. No real reason. I like the Irish in this game. And kind of what Curtis said, I do want to see Texas A&M show me something before I pick them.
Sheldon?
I found a good stat nugget. So last 42 years, Notre Dame has never had a season opener where they have not started a senior on the offensive line. That streak will end this year, so they don't have any seniors starting for them. Pretty young O-line. They're going into Lions Sin and Kyle Field. I think the Aggies are going to be motivated. They've heard people talk some crap. They got a really talented roster. I think they're going to take this one in the season opener.
And Miranda rode with me and Shelton on this one, taking the Aggies.
All righty.
I wish Shelton would give me the stats before he makes.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to the last one here,
give me the stuff too, Shelton. Come on, man.
Give him the gritty. Just a couple before we get to our last pick here. Our buddy Robbie saying Tech by 21. I'll Tally. We take that, wouldn't we?
You know what?
Yeah,
I love running it.
Yes,
up.
sir.
All right, Chris.
We'll definitely take that too.
All righty. So we got one more game to pick. And this year, as part of our big screeners special, our music man, Jason Long, is going to be giving us a little something every week. This week, he's going to Boulder.
Welcome to the first edition of Guitar Licks and Gridiron Picks. I'm Jason Long. You've been hearing my music on the Boundary Corner podcast for several years now. Well, this season the boys asked me to come on and talk about another one of my great passions, sports gambling. So each week I'm going to be matching up tunes and bets, sort of like a degenerate hippie sommelier. And week one, we're headed to Boulder. And the Colorado Mountain High. See the rain and fire in the sky. Friends around the campfire, and everybody's high. Rocky Mountain High. Colorado. Rocky Mountain High. Colorado. Dakota State is visiting Colorado on Thursday night. Now, look, at this point in the season, I don't know who's making the playoffs, what the bowl matchups are going to be, but I figure this should be an interesting game. The Buffaloes started strong last year, but they finished just 4-8. That has not stopped Coach Prime and his team from talking a whole lot of trash this summer. Time to see if they can back it up. Now, it's year 2. Their depth should be better. And I keep hearing that QB Shador is a Heisman finalist and a future top 5 NFL draft pick. And hey, I'm not hating. I want to see it happen. So no offense to North Dakota State. But Colorado should take care of business here at home in prime time, no less. So with my first pick of the 2024 season, I'm taking Colorado minus 9.5 points. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. So go get them Buffaloes, and of course, let's go Hokies. See you next week for another edition of Guitar Licks and Gridiron Picks.
All righty. So there is Jason. Jason taking Colorado, laying the 9.5 points with a little Rocky Mountain High. And we're going to be doing that every week. Jason's going to be throwing us games. He's going to be throwing us a little music in here. Goes a long way back with Jason. So glad to bring him on for one little segment. So he's picked it, played a little tune for us. Brian, who are you taking in this last big screener Thursday night?
You know what? I'm going to ride with the Buffaloes here. I just think even with some of the off-season shenanigans and kind of everything, all the hype, all the talk, all the trash talk, all the silliness that we've seen, I still think in this case, the Buffaloes just have too much talent at a lot of key positions. I think they're going to take the win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I definitely think they're going to take the win, and I definitely think just hold on real quick here. There you go. Appreciate it, Chris. I'm going with Colorado taking the points 9.5, but I think it is going to be a dogfight just because of the clash of styles. As y'all know, North Dakota State loves to absolutely pound the rock. We know Colorado was subjective to giving up some runs last year. So Colorado lay the 9.5. They probably close them out mid-fourth quarter, win somewhere between 16 and 17 points.
Before I get to my pick, I want to know what was on that table behind you, Jason. It looked like a whole bunch of lotion, different types of lotion, and white people don't be wearing lotion like that. I know what you're using that if that's lotion for. Look like Vaseline too. But anyway, I'm going to say Colorado. Jason, you need to be texting us and let us know what's on that table.
Sheldon, what you got?
So, first of all, I know I saw Robbie had a question in the chat. Is there really a difference between a buffalo and a bison? There is. It's actually somewhat of a misnomer. Only bison are in America. Buffalo are not in America. They're in Asia. So, with all due respect to Colorado, your name does not make sense. I'm just being real, guys. So,
I never knew that.
It's always a bison. It is not a buffalo. So with that being said, I'm taking Dion and the Buffs. I know this is a trendy pick for NDSU, but they do not have the speed to keep up with Colorado. They're going to wear them down in the second half, and they will win this game. And he will avoid embarrassment for now.
And finally, Miranda's on this pick. Also Colorado.
This is when we're riding the whole way back. By the way, Tally, Jason said it is a Lego set.
Oh, okay. I'm old, man. My eyes is bad. I was just trying to make sure. I was trying to see.
You would have been real suspicious if you tried to say it was lotion, but not for the reason you think.
Yeah.
So at least he went with something else. It's a Lego set, everybody.
It's a Lego
By the
set.
way,
Okay.
Clear the air.
By the way, the gambler man, Jason Long, also says Jacksonville State. Take Jacksonville State in that game. So he didn't get us all of them. But yeah, so
all right, we got a rundown here. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. This is where we landed.
All right, okay.
Are we wrong? Did we get it right? Let us know. We're gonna get them wrong. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely getting them wrong. I think I had the worst. I know I had the worst picks last year. It was horrible. So I'm gonna do much better this year. I'm starting off good. Y'all better follow me because we're gonna make some money this year. I'm telling you.
Gonna make some money. Somebody got to keep a record of this. Somebody want to do that for us?
Curtis, you just gave yourself another job, man. Great job, man.
Somebody needs to do this.
Somebody needs to keep up with this shit.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Anything breaking in the last hour and 26 minutes, boys?
You know what? I don't see anything breaking.
Nothing.
I ain't got nothing breaking, but I do got a question. I gotta ask.
Go for it.
We always ask a lot of dumbass stuff, right? So I gotta ask some dumb stuff. This is gonna be starting with Shelton. Shelton, Virginia Tech Hokies, first game of the season. How do we score first this year? What's the first score that we have?
Let's see, because I'm a big fan of his. I'm gonna go Jalen Lane. It's gonna be let's go. It's gonna be a pass behind the line of scrimmage. We're gonna get a good block in the perimeter, and he's gonna take it to the house for a 17-yard score.
Ooh,
dang, that was pretty. If this comes true, we're gonna have to do something about Shelton.
Yeah,
I know something's up. Brian, what you got?
Give me a Benji Gosnell sluggo.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna go next, and then Curtis, I'm gonna let you finish it up.
Yes,
I gotta go with my quarterback keeper. I don't have a certain amount of touchdown yards. I'm just saying Kyron Drones, quarterback keeper, touchdown. First score of the season.
First score of the season. All righty. Kyron Drones is involved with mine, but he's not scoring a touchdown. He is throwing about a 45-yard bomb to Daquan Felton as we pick on those inexperienced, bad cornerbacks, and he going to pull it out. And what he going to do, like he was going down the pit last year, he going to let every single player on Vanderbilt's know what it's all about. Although Robbie's would be cool too. Put that back up there real quick. Robbie's would be cool too. Just house the first one.
Yeah.
Man, you want to talk about somebody's spirit?
Let's get it out of the way.
Just get it out of the way. All right. I like that, Tally. You know what? That might become a segment at the end here. How we scoring the first touchdown this week? Keep it going.
Some weeks I'm so nervous, man. I wouldn't even know what to do. I'm not really nervous this week, though.
The nerves are off with week one, especially when it's like,
no nerves
game
this week,
it's not a conference game. It's none of that stuff that has like super long-term impacts on you. It's one of those games you want to win, you should win.
You want to get off on the right
there because of the stakes that aren't. There's no real stakes attached to it. So,
right.
But we want to get off on the right foot.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
You want to get out. You want to get to feeling good. You want to get to feeling good. I know y'all. It's gonna be like this. Y'all want to walk around Nashville all Saturday night with the Hokie gear on, with your chest out. Shelton wants to walk around Raleigh, downtown, wherever you're doing, with the Hokie gear on all Saturday night, and same here. That's the way we want to feel. And I think it's going to happen this week, boys. And with that, let's wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by Count's Family Pharmacy in Blacksburg. Don't forget, Hokie Gobbler Plus, 4 to 7 on the drill field. Go visit Count's Family Pharmacy's set up there. Register to win the PS5 from them, and then give it to me because I don't have one.
Send it to Curtis. If you need his address, just hit me up. I'll get it to you.
All righty. What are you talking about? I'll just drive to Blacksburg. I'll come up today. I'll buy a Marshall ticket and come up and watch that game.
Right.
My name is Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
And I'm Shelton Moss.
Visit our website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. While you're there, do not forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, along with your favorite podcast source, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts. He's played us once tonight. He'll play us again. Jason Long. Check out his website, Jason Long Music. Sorry about that. JasonLongMusic.com, where you can find the links to all of his music on Apple, Spotify, and his YouTube channel, Facebook pages as well. Also check him out for his live events. He's always usually doing something on the weekends Week 1 is here. College football is back. Thank y'all for listening. And as always, let's go.
Okay.
Hokies.